Okay, so thanks everybody for taking a few minutes to join another one of these brief Teams talks. I wanted to just kind of show something that's built into PubMed. It won't be very long, but it's just something that I haven't really used a lot before. And I think it's pretty cool. They have this functionality built in to the database. And it's the idea is that if you want to use preset filters in PubMed for clinical queries, so they have there's a couple, they're like just basically pre-built filters so you don't have to dig through as many results. Maybe if you were doing like an advanced PubMed search, just if you kind of want to get to an answer kind of quickly or get a good scope of what you're looking at rather quickly. And again, I want to mention that if you do this, it's a good idea to go to the LUCOM library page and use this PubMed link to get to PubMed, or in the research guide, it's here under featured resources. It's also in the A to Z, but those links actually, we use something called Outside Tool with the National Library of Medicine that connects all of their citations to our full text holdings here throughout the whole university. So if you use this PubMed link either here or on the LUCOM library page or one of our PubMed links, you'll be able to find full text content for a bunch of stuff that we have access to that's indexed in PubMed. Just want to mention that. I know I've said it before, but it's a really good thing to remember. So when you go to the main, here, I'll go ahead and click on PubMed here so we can see. When you first go to it. So when you first go to PubMed, this changed a couple years ago, but it should look pretty familiar. You can do an advanced search here. You can do basic search, or you can search mesh through here if you're looking for medical subject headings. But I just wanted to point out really quickly that they have this little link under Find here. Advanced search, I know we've shown a little bit of that before, but this clinical queries link it takes you to another part of the PubMed site, and this is not like anything super sophisticated. It's just kind of cool that it has predefined filters that lets you search for therapies, prognosis, treatments. You can do broad or narrow scope. They've even got something built for COVID-19 where if you're looking for just a quick way to find the most up-to-date stuff you can find on COVID-19 in PubMed. So there's these specialized filters, and just so you can see, there's clinical studies and COVID-19 here. So if I was looking for clinical studies on, I don't know, pulmonary hypertension, and you'll see it immediately shows with the pre-built filters, it's still found over 22,000 results, but you can actually sort these by therapy, clinical prediction guidelines, diagnosis, prognosis, etiology. If you just want to find stuff about the basis of it, that's actually more there available than there was for the previous one. But let's see, prognosis, I'm looking for a more narrow one. That's still 19,000. But what I wanted to show you was they actually have these pre-built filters in here for broad or narrow scope. So if we want to narrow down our scope, I got down to 9,000 results of just stuff on the prognosis for pulmonary hypertension for clinical query in PubMed. And if you're curious about what the difference is between this narrow and broad scope when you're looking at these results, you can actually click on this for details, and it gives you explicit examples of what the difference is between the broad and the narrow parameters that it's searching. So with for therapies in the broader here, it's looking through titles and clinical trials as a topic or a mesh term. It's basically the broadest net that you could possibly cast for those types of studies about clinical questions. And then it kind of explains what the more narrow how it's narrowing down rather than, and if you've done any advanced searching in libraries, you know about these Boolean operators, or as an expanding Boolean operator and as a narrowing Boolean operator. So you can see how these broad ones use a lot of those Boolean operators to cast a wider net. But I wanted to show, so let's say we can click on each one of these individually, or I can pull up all the results and it'll just look like your search results in PubMed, and it'll pull them all up there. Something I want to mention too, I try to always show that, let's see, if I click on this one, I can grab the citation, and here's that Get It at Liberty button that I was talking about. So because I used the PubMed link to get to the clinical queries using the link that we have for PubMed, you'll find these Get It at Liberty buttons for everything we have full text access to with using that PubMed link. I've mentioned this before, but you can download if your citation here, and you can actually copy and paste this into a document. You can choose a different format. I know a lot of us use APA or AMA. You guys probably don't use Medical Library Association, but you can actually change the formatting of that, or you can download to your citation file if you're working with another program that like RefWorks or any other citation manager that you might use. I know I've shown how to use Zotero before, so you can use that one too. But so that's available to you. You can also, let's see here, if I go back, if we want to look through just the latest COVID-19 clinical query and say, I was looking at this earlier, it changes a little bit. It doesn't go broad or narrow because it's already pretty narrow. Obviously, we're dealing with COVID-19, which is a very recent phenomenon. So it's going to be pretty narrow scope anyway. But if I were to look up, I was thinking about this earlier, what's the name of the medication? It's not hydroxychloroquine, it is ivermectin. So like, there's a lot of controversy right now about ivermectin, but if we were to look for ivermectin in COVID-19, I can see I only found 321 results. This is not like, earth-shattering, capability. It's just pretty cool that they've built in these predefined filters to use for clinical queries if you're just trying to get right to something rather quickly without building really sophisticated advanced searches. And you can see there's these things that you're not sure about, you can find explanations here for COVID-19 filter details. Again, it kind of tells you what it's looking through, the mechanism of action, general literature, transmission, diagnosis. So that's how it's determining those things. And again, even though we don't have broad or narrow scope available for these, we can still find transmission, mechanism of action, case reports, forecasting, prevention. And again, I can pull up all of these 321 results on ivermectin clinical query and COVID-19 here. And if I want to, I can select these. And I showed before how you can copy and paste a citation into your Word document, but if you find multiple articles that you want to add to your project or to your RefWorks or Zotero, you can actually add them to a citation, save them and import them into a citation manager right here. So that's pretty much it. It's really basic, but it's not like an earth-shattering capability, but I just thought it was kind of cool, and I hadn't used it a whole lot, and I could see how it would be useful if you're trying to get directly to some really relevant, recent clinical literature without having to build like necessarily a super sophisticated advanced search or dig through a bunch of things. So it's kind of a useful tool they've built in here. So thank you guys for joining. I know it was really short, just a couple minutes, but I just, if you want to know more about PubMed, please let me know. Or if there's anything else I can help with any of our resources, I'm happy to help however I can.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rob.